Hello my dear children of class 9ers. So welcome back to your virtual class on English literature, and today we shall begin with a new poem, and that poem is Bangle by Sarojini Naidu. So before we move ahead with the poem, I would like to talk about the brief history of who Sarojini Naidu is. And Sarojini Naidu, she was known as the Nightingale of India for her lyrical poems. And all her lyrical poems, majority of her lyrical poems carried emotions both joyous and sad that reflected upon the lives of, that showed the lives of her Indian people. Alright, and Sarojini Naidu, not only did she contribute in the world of literature through her poems, but at the same time Sarojini Naidu has a very strong background wherein she contributed even for the Indian national movement when India was under the British regime, where thereby she is not just a poet of modern India, but also she is a freedom fighter, a patriot. She followed Gandhiji and she helped him in attaining Swaraj, alright? And later she also was elected as the president of Indian National Congress, and later she was also elected as the governor of Uttar Pradesh. Yes. So that was the kind of contribution that she made in both the worlds of literature as well as in the world of her country when India was fighting against the British rule. So, and she has, as I said, majority of her works are lyrical that talked about and reflected on the lives of her Indian people. And likewise, similarly, Bangle, this poem that we are about to deal with today, also reflects upon the life of her people. But in this poem, it specifically revolves around, it concerns itself around the lives of Indian women. In fact, this entire poem is the celebration of values and virtues of an Indian womanhood, where Bangle holds a very symbolic and a very spiritual meaning in the lives of women, because bangles are not just things to be worn and adorned for their external beauty, but it is something that holds a great meaning into their lives. And in this poem, The Bangle Seller, Sarojini talks about various different stages of an Indian woman's life, and all these stages of an Indian woman's life is associated with different colored bangles. And how does she associate that and how she describes each of those stages, we shall see today in this poem, The Bangle Seller. So, we shall begin. Bangle sellers are we who bear our shining glows to the temple fair. So, in the very opening scene, we are introduced to bangle sellers who are selling bangles. And where they are selling? They are selling all these bangles, beautiful colored bangles at the temple fair. And who will buy these delicate, bright, rainbow tinted circles of life? And by rainbow tinted, who will buy? Who will buy all these rainbow tinted circles of life, in the sense, who is going to buy all these beautiful, different colored, multicolored bangles? And the answer is luscious token of radiant lives for happy daughters and happy wives. And all these bangles will be bought by the prospective buyers, like happy daughters and happy wives. In the sense, women of all ages will definitely buy all these bangles, and the bangle sellers specifically chose this area, that is the temple, as its area to buy or to sell all their bangles. Why? Because temple is a place where women of all ages, they pay a visit to. That's why the bangle sellers were selling all these bangles for women of all ages. So here, then the next, some are meet for a maiden's wrist. Some bangles that these bangle sellers were selling, it resembles and it is associated with the lives of young maiden. Silver and blue as the mountain mist, just as the color, the color that these bangle sellers were selling, that actually is associated with the life of young women. It is silver and blue, and this color, these two colors, silver and blue, it resembles the beautiful color of the mountain and the mist. And one more, he says, some are flushed like buds that dream on the tranquil brow of a woodland stream. And some bangles, it resembles the color of a bud that is there, that is growing beside the stream, that is basking in the warmth of the sun and is growing just beside the stream. Just as this bud, this young maiden is also waiting to experience life, waiting to grow, dreaming to grow and blossom like a beautiful flower. Just as how that bud is sitting out there waiting to grow into a full-grown flower, likewise, this young maiden, all the young maidens too, they dream of growing and blossoming into beautiful flowers. And not just that, as Sarojini Naidu talks about and associates the color blue and silver to the life of young maiden, she is also side by side talking about the purity and the freshness of a young maiden's life, of how pure she is. And then let's move ahead. Some are aglow in the bloom of leaves to the limpid glory of newborn leaves, and some bangles are like the very color of the newborn leaves, the budding leaves. And some bangles resemble the purity and the clarity of the dewdrops that are there on top of that have gathered on the leaves, on these newborn leaves. So as she talks about all these freshness, the fresh side, the pure side of nature, she is actually side by side also talking about the purity, the freshness and the beauty of a young maiden's life. So the color associated with a young maiden's life is that of silver, blue, and that of bud and new green leaves. And then let's move to the next verse. Some are like the fields of cornlit meet for a bride on her bridal morn. So the next color that Sarojini Naidu picks is the color yellow. The color yellow, there are some bangles that the bangle seller is selling. He also sells yellow bangles, yellow color that is almost like the color of the cornfield. And here when she mentions cornfield, this cornfield is actually, it symbolizes fertility. Alright, it speaks of the fertility and as fertility of the land, and just as she talks about the fertility of the land that has caused cornfield to sprout and that has caused the entire field to look yellow. Likewise, this girl, young maiden, who was young, has now entered a new stage where now she is ready and is about to enter a new life. Okay? Some are like the fields of sunlit corn meet for a bride on her bridal morn. And that stage that we are about to talk about is that of a bride. Now that young maiden is now ready to become a bride and thereby enter a complete new life. Okay? So meet for a bride on her bridal morn, some like the flame of a marriage fire, or rich with the hue of a heart's desire. And some colors or some bangles are like that of the color of the very fire around which the bride and her groom make rounds and take their marriage vows. So these two colors have been associated with the life of a bride, when Sarojini Naidu talks about the fire, she is also talking about the love and the passion that is there in the heart of this bride. And then see, or rich with the hue of a heart's desire, twinkling, luminous, tender and clear, like her bridal laughter and her bridal tear. And these bangles are as beautiful and clear as the very bridal laughter and the bridal tear. And by talking about bridal laughter and bridal tear, Sarojini Naidu is talking about the blissfulness and the happiness that this bride has received on having about to enter a complete new life. And when she talks about bridal tear here means the sadness that every bride experiences, knowing that day onwards she will have to forever bid goodbye to her parental home. For now she was about to lead a new life with her husband at her husband's house. So thus she says, like her bridal laughter and bridal tear. Then the last verse. Some are purple, gold-flecked grey, for she who has journeyed through life midway. So now the final stage of the life is the life of that woman who was once a happy daughter, who turned into a happy bride, and now who has journeyed her life through midway. And by talking about, and as Sarojini Naidu talks about this woman who has journeyed her life through midway, she's very specifically and she's quite particular with the choice of a color that she associates with the life of this woman who has journeyed through life midway, and she has chosen these two colors, and that is purple and gold that has been flecked by grey. So, and these colors symbolically they represent authority, power and respect, and that is exactly what is represented by the woman of this stage, this woman who has journeyed her life through midway, whose hands have cherished, whose love has blessed and cradled fair sons on her faithful breast. And this woman who was not just a faithful and a loyal and a responsible wife to her husband, and a faithful and a responsible daughter-in-law, but at the same time was a woman of greatness and glory, for she equally took great care of her children. She took great and extreme care in bringing her children up into good human beings. Thereby, she became this great figure of greatness and glory, and serves her household in fruitful pride, and worships the gods as at her husband's side. And in this manner she has served her entire household, that has helped her achieve fruitful pride. And by talking about this fruitful pride, this phrase is very, very significant. It is very significant in the context of a woman's life who has journeyed through life midway. For this woman was a happy daughter. This woman was a happy bride, a responsible and a happy wife and a daughter-in-law, And not just that, but she also helped her family she was very productive for her family, for she bore children, for she bare children for them, that enable them the ability to move their generation ahead, to take their generation ahead. So in this manner, she has successfully achieved fruitful. She has been enabled, and she has successfully achieved the household of great pride, where she has made everybody proud for what she has done. And the last line is also very significant, as it says, and worships the gods at her husband's side. And by this, Sarojini Naidu means that this lady, this woman, not only was she a great wife and a great mother and a great daughter-in-law, but also she was an equal partner. She was an equal partner with her husband, as her husband, who maintained a very good relationship with the rest of the family members, thereby making this woman an epitome of what an Indian woman should be like and is like. So no wonder she has been associated, no wonder her life and her position has been associated with the life of with the life and the color purple and gold. And when we talk about gold, we're not to forget the grey flecks in it, the grey flecks that she talks in the very first line of the last verse. Some are purple and gold flecked grey, in the sense that this grey, the minute she talks about this color grey, it adds to the maturity of her stage, and that maturity is what she has attained after having journeyed her life midway. So in this manner, Sarojini Naidu has very beautifully associated the lives of all the various stages lives of an Indian woman through the various different colors of the bangles. And in this manner, this way, that is Sarojini Naidu, the poetess of this poem Bangle seller, has beautifully glorified the very idea of what an Indian womanhood is like. Alright, so with this, we end the simple and a very beautiful poem that talks about the life of Indian womanhood. I hope you all understood, and in case if you all have some problem, you could always message me via Teachment or WhatsApp. Your questions and queries are always welcome. Till then, stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you, my dear children.